I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in, and I'll get started. I just wanted to give an update. As you can see, I have my neck brace on, so I have had my surgery. Everybody's doing well. I'm laying on my bed, so just see if I can adjust this a little bit. Sorry about that view. Just waiting for a few more people. How's everyone doing? All right, my dog's gonna come up here and try to lay with me, so you may get to see my dog. So anyway, I just wanted to come on, and I waited to do this video because after, as you can see from my title, after what happened, I wanted to make sure that I was doing this with a clear head and make sure that everything was done without bias or without, I don't know. I just want to make sure my head was in the right spot before I did this video. So as you can see, I did have this surgery on November the 10th, which was last week, Monday. I was the first one of the day. So got to the hospital, got through the registration process, went up to the surgery floor. They called me back almost immediately. Welcome in. And I was met with the resident who I had met before. And we went over my history and physical and consents and made sure that I knew what I was having done and that I agreed to have everything done that they were proposing, which was a C3, which is cervical spine 3, to a T1 or thoracic spine 1. So the plan was to go in and remove the hardware that was already there. Welcome in, everybody. I'm just giving an update on my surgery last week. If you've had cervical spine surgery, drop me a comment below. Let me know how yours went. Or if you have any questions about an upcoming surgery, also let me know. I appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, and I hope everybody stays to listen to this story because I think it is a rather important story because it's not all about me right now. I'm going to go through a little bit of what led up to my discharge from the hospital. So I hope everybody sticks around to hear that because I think it is very important to know. So anyway, Monday went in and had the surgery. Hi, Davis Lee. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Let's see. I met with the resident. We went over all the consents. Captain Ducky, hi, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And, met with all of the anesthesiologists and Clouds. Hi, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Met with anesthesiologists. Well, we're going to go over it, Davis. We're going to go over everything that happened. And it's okay. I just, and it's not as, I just want awareness is what I'm aiming for here. So then, met with anesthesia, went over everything with them. Neurology came in because they do put, pins, like acupuncture type pins into the nerves to make sure that they're not damaged or anything during the surgery. Sorry. So we went through all of that. They got me all prepped and everything, gave me the little cocktail to go to sleep, took me back to the OR. And the next thing I know is I'm waking up in my exam room with my son there. And, with my neck brace there, as far as I know, yeah, everything went good. Everything went good. Like I said, this is my third spine surgery, so I know what to expect. Welcome in, everyone. Thanks for being here. So that was Monday night. Pain wasn't too terrible. I guess I was still under, groggy from the anesthesia. They came in at 3:00 in the morning, and, they do vitals and all that, like every 4 hours or whatever. Came in like at 3:00 in the morning and gave me medicine. And, she started listing off what it was. Hi, GGP945. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So, she listed off all this medication, pain medication, muscle relaxers. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. But, okay, if that's what they want me to take, I'll take it. So I did. I took the medicine, went to sleep. They come in, they wake you up, they take your blood, they check your vitals, they ask you, how you doing, all that fun stuff. So then, actually, let me back up. Before that 3:00 cocktail, they got me up out of bed, and took an x-ray to make sure that, the hardware and everything was in place. And physical therapy had me walk a little bit. Okay, no big deal. Everything was good. So then, stick around, guys, because it's gonna get better. It's gonna get wild. I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna get wild. So stick around. Okay, so then Tuesday morning, 3:00, she gave me the medicine and everything. Tuesday morning, I don't know, woke up 7, whatever time it was. Breakfast came, was eating breakfast. Not sure if physical therapy came in. They may have. I had, a catheter in, so I didn't have to get up to the bathroom. No big deal. So I was just hanging out, sleeping, resting, whatever. Next thing I know, I wake up to about 25 people in my room asking me all these questions. And I'm like, what in the hell? Why are you here? What's going on? And they're like, do you feel dizzy? Do you feel pain? Do you feel chest pains? Are you having headache? And I'm like, hold on. And I literally said, hold on. Y'all are asking me too many questions. What is going on? And apparently, my blood pressure had dropped significantly. I was unresponsive when the CNA came in to check on me. I was unresponsive, and they called a rapid response team in. So they were all in there, and they were doing EKGs, and they were doing blood pressures, and they were taking my blood and talking to each other, talking to me. And when I tell you there was 25 people in that room, there was no less than 25 people in that room. And it was just, I had no idea what was going on. So they did the EKG, and then they showed it to one guy, and another guy came and said, I'm here to do an EKG. I'm like, you already did an EKG. What's up? He's like, no, I don't see one. So he did another one. So then they said, well, we're going to transfer you to ICU because your blood is low. And then they looked at me like, were you over medicated or lost too much blood? I'm like, how would I know? I mean, I'm the patient. You're the doctor. You tell me what happened. So they took me to the ICU, which is just down the hall from where I was, and hooked me up to all this stuff, gave me transfusion of blood, gave me fluids, antibiotics, drawing more blood. I've had both arms, my feet. I had IVs going everywhere. It was just crazy, overwhelming crazy. So dealing with that, and then taking my blood pressures and all that, and constant blood pressure that they could monitor from where they were at the nurse's station. Okay, so then Wednesday, okay, I guess I'm better, but the pain, my neck was so painful. Now, mind you, I just had C3 through T1 surgery, and then had plastic surgery come in, close me up, reattach muscle, put in drains. So I had 2 drains coming from my neck. And if you don't know what drains are, they're bulbs that suck fluid out of your body so that fluid doesn't build up, cause swelling and stuff like that. So I had that. Granny. Hi, Bradley. Okay, not sure what happened there. So yeah, so Wednesday, I'm just hanging out, do whatever, they tell me to do. And I get my, pain medicine. They're doing IV pain meds, plus muscle relaxers, and waiting for me. I think by then I was cleared to go back to the surgical floor. My blood pressure was stable. My anemia was coming up. They'd given me a pint of blood and some platelets, and everything was coming back up. So I was stable enough to leave ICU and go back to the surgical floor. The problem was there was no beds available in the surgical floor. So I was just going to hang out with them until a bed became available. So then, and everybody was very nice. The nurses, it's a state hospital, the nurses, the doctors, everyone was very nice. Couldn't have asked for better care. Except for that third day, on Thursday, at shift change. So prior to that, they come and make rounds pretty early. If you ever been in the hospital, your doctor, resident, nurse practitioner, whatever, comes around pretty early. So my resident, who'd been with me from the last surgery, came in, talked to me, asked me how I was doing. I told him the pain was horrific. And I have a pretty high pain tolerance. I normally don't take narcotics or whatever unless I have to. If I can't fix it with Tylenol or Advil, then, whatever. He told me, this is the resident, told me that I would be going to this is Thursday, that I was going to transfer back over to the surgical floor, and that they were going to keep me for a day or two for observation and manage my pain. And I said, that sounds good. I said, I do not feel comfortable going home in this amount of pain. I said, it's just, I know this is a bigger surgery, but this is just more pain than the other 2 were. I just, it's just, I can't manage this at home by myself. So that was the plan. So then shift change, 7 a.m., get a new group of nurses, comes in, and I could tell something was off. The vibe was off. And physical therapy came in, and, got me up, helped me, like walk with the walker, brush my teeth. Somebody from insurance came in and, asked questions about that. Then I thought, well, then two housekeepers came in at different times, which I thought was kind of weird. And then, my lunch came in, and it was just they kept saying, you're going to be discharged. You're going to be discharged. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I just spoke with him. I'm going to the other floor to manage the pain. I said, I don't feel comfortable. I have these drains. I have a lot of pain. I just don't feel comfortable going. I said, they said, well, they're saying you're being discharged. This is the nurse. I said, well, I want to speak to them. So in the meantime, physical therapy came because I had one more thing to do, which was to clear the steps, which is just walk up a little flight of steps and back down because I have to get steps to my apartment. No problem. I did that. So physical therapy cleared me. But not for the pain. They just physically able to go. Pain-wise, no. And so my son called me and said, hey, I just got a call that you're being discharged. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why, who called you? He's like, I don't know. Somebody just called me and told me to pick you up. You're being discharged. I said, no, that's not right. I said, we had contractors here at the apartment, so he was here with them. I said, just hold on a second and let me talk to them. So the next thing I know, my son is there by my side. The nurse comes in along with, I don't know, a couple other people saying, start packing up my stuff and saying I'm being discharged. And I'm like, hold on. I am not going with this pain. I've already talked to the doctor and he said he's going to transfer me to the other floor. And she's like, well, we don't have any more beds. Okay. Not my problem. One, not my problem. So then the charge nurse pops his head in the door and doesn't acknowledge me at all. Just says, room, what, I'm like, okay, what is that? He's like, oh, they got a bed for you. I'm like, okay, good. We got an understanding. So then, waiting for them to take me to the bed, a plastic surgery resident came in and said, I'm here to take out your drain. I'm like, are you just doing one drain? He's like, yeah. So he took out one that wasn't producing a lot and proceeded to lecture me on why they don't keep patients in the hospital just for drains. Now, mind you, this is not my first time having drains. And I know I've worked in healthcare long enough, and this kid could have been my grandson, and he's going to lecture me on why we don't keep people in the hospital because of drains. I said, it's not because of the drain. I said, it's because of the pain. I'm in excruciating pain. Let me back up just one little second. When it was time for my pain medicine, they were 2.5 hours late with it. Okay? 2.5 hours late with my pain medicine. Okay. So then nurse comes in with a couple other people, and they start rolling me down the hall into another room on the surgical unit, surgical floor. A couple of double doors down this corridor, that corridor, same floor, just, different part of the hospital. And I'm still confused. Because when I get into that room and I'm greeted by that nurse, he's like, "You're being discharged." I'm like, "Yeah, from surgery ICU to surgical floor." He's like, "No, you're being discharged home." And I'm like, I just can't, I don't understand this. He's like, "Well, I don't understand why they didn't just discharge you there, why they sent you over here for me to do it." I said, none of this is making sense. I said, "I've asked to speak to the doctor. I've asked to talk to someone about the pain, that I can't go home with this pain." So then he looked at my son, and he said, "Hey, you want to go down to the pharmacy and pick up her prescriptions? They're ready to be picked up." So my son said, "Yeah." So he did. So he picked up the prescriptions, went to go pick up the prescriptions, which is like on the first floor of the hospital, something like that. So while my son was gone, the nurse looked at me, and sweet, sweet nurse. And you could tell that he was bothered, that he was upset, that he was confused, and not in agreement with what was going on. He looked at me and he said, "I didn't want to say this in front of your son, but they said," they being the ICU nurse, "if you did not leave, they were going to have security escort you out." I was floored. I was stunned. I was humiliated. I was mad. I was angry. I was in pain. I was in utter shock and disbelief. Everything that I had gone through in the days prior and the amount of pain that I was in, the surgery that I had, needing to have a blood transfusion, almost dying because of blood loss, not even seeing my surgeon yet that did the actual surgery. And they're going to escort me out if I do not leave? At that point, I was just, I'm going home. I'm done. I'm going home. So my son came back. The PA came in, surgery physician assistant came in, talked to my son because she was the one that had called my son when I was unresponsive, and talked to him about that. And she's talking about, discharge and the follow-ups, and they prescribed the pain meds and the dressing changes, and gave us some more dressing changes and all this stuff. And I don't think I said anything. She just talked to my son because I was just so in utter shock and disbelief. So then they called transportation to come and pick me up, which took forever. And my smart ass remark was, "Well, why don't you call security to walk me down?" But I didn't. So my son went and got the car. Finally, transportation came to pick me up and take me down. And they had to wait for other pickups and everything, and it was just horrendous. So we got home, and it's not a 15-20 minute drive. It's not bad. It's not, it's not like it's far away. So that evening, when I got home, I took my pain meds, changed my clothes, got comfortable as I could be, fixed my bed, my pillows, laid down, and I was in so much pain. I'm talking 10 plus out of 10 pain. I was in so much pain. And like I said, I have a really high pain tolerance. I can deal with pain. I had taken everything that I could. I didn't want to OD, but I had taken everything I could, and I was in so much pain. I couldn't move, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand. I was crying, my son was crying. I couldn't even open my mouth to drink out of a straw. That's how much pain I was in. My neck, the muscles in my neck felt like rocks under my skin. They were so tight and hard and swollen. And anyway, you get it. The pain was horrendous. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. What am I going to do? So I asked my son to get the discharge paperwork to see what they suggest. And then I'm like, you know what? F them. They're going to kick me out. I'm not going back there. I'm not going back over there. They're going to kick me out. Someone who not only worked there for years, but has had 5 surgeries with them. I'm not going back. So they'll have to go to the local hospital, down the road. Even though they're not connected, they're not going to know. My son's going to have to explain to them what's going on because there's no way I can talk to explain it. And I'm like, it's just not worth it. And so I just laid down and just closed my eyes and just did some meditation and just fell asleep and just got through it. But it was difficult. Very, very difficult. So yeah, that's what happened. So Friday, maybe Saturday, I waited because I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything out of anger. I waited. And I went in to my medical record, my appointments, and I canceled every one of them. All the follow-ups, everything. We have 3 hospital systems all here within, minutes. They're not the only one in town. So I canceled all the appointments. And I sent a message to my surgeon and said, cancel all appointments. I will not be returning to facility. So then, I think it was no. Okay. So then I got a message back from the PA, the one that discharged me, said, hey, sorry to hear this. What's going on? This is very upsetting to read your message. Please, let's talk. I'll try to call you. If not, here's my number. Okay. So as the messages are rolling in through my patient portal, as the notes from the hospital stay, the visits, progress notes, op notes, all that stuff come rolling in, I look at it, and nowhere did I see that on that 3rd day, Thursday, my surgeon was ever informed of my pain. Nowhere. All it said was pain is under control. Nowhere did it say that I wanted to speak with them. However, there are notes in there that I want to speak with plastics, that I don't want these drains and I want them removed and all this stuff, which was not the case. But nowhere in those notes, and I kind of suspected, as I thought about it, I kind of suspected that might have happened because my surgeon would not have let me go. And the fact that he hadn't even seen me yet since the surgery, he would not have let me go. So I called the physician assistant and I explained everything that I just explained here. She was so upset, genuinely upset. And she gave me her personal phone number. Could not apologize enough, which it wasn't her fault. She was never notified or never told. She said that as soon as she got my message, she gave it to the doctor, and he wants to speak to me directly, and he was trying to call me while I had my phone turned off. So he was never notified. He was never told about my pain. So anyway, we're working this out. And I will keep you updated on the process. But this is the takeaway that I want from this. Had I not advocated for myself, who knows what would have happened? Not everybody has an advocate. Not everybody has that medical background. And especially the older generation, that whatever your doctor says, whatever your pharmacist says, whatever your nurse says is the right thing. And it's not always that case. So everybody needs to have an advocate. If you're not able to advocate for yourself when it comes to your health, you need to designate somebody to be your advocate. Because healthcare is a business. It should be health business. There's no care involved in it. So I'm going to close with that. All in all, the surgery went well. I'm recovering. I have only had Tylenol today, but I just took, and some muscle relaxers, and the pain finally was manageable for me about Saturday afternoon. I was able to stretch out the every 4 hours to every 6 hours, and then kind of alternating between the Tylenol and the narcotic. And yeah, so the pain, I didn't die. The pain became manageable for me probably Saturday afternoon. So had I stayed at least one more night in the hospital with them managing my pain, I think we would have been okay. But the fact is, oh, no, I'm not going to end it here. No, I'm going to say that for another video. I'll save that for another video. So yes, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments. If you're on the replay, let me know about your experience with neck surgery. or if you had any experience similar to mine in the hospital, please like and subscribe to my video if you haven't already. And I did get a subscriber in the hospital because I had my YouTube up listening to some podcast while I was in the hospital, and one of the housekeepers came in and we were talking, and I told him I had a YouTube channel, so he said he's gonna subscribe to me. So I hope he did. I hope you're out there. You subscribed. You were so fun to talk to, and I hope you're doing well. Your wife's doing well, and your daughter. And with that, I'm going to close this out for now. I appreciate everybody being here. Like and subscribe. Share out the channel. It means a good chance my channel views will get up there and people will know that I'm here. And look forward to new content. Give me a comment or question in the chat, and I will see you all later. Thank you.